You either die a hero or live long enough to become the villain. It doesn't matter if you're PlayStation with the PS3 launch, Microsoft with the Xbox One, SEGA with the Dreamcast, or Nintendo with the Switch 2. Eventually, all giants fall from their own hubris. Now I love Nintendo. I love their consoles, their games, and even admire their iconic developers and leaders. However, even though Nintendo loves putting on this nice guy persona, there are plenty of times when they've been shown to be absolutely ruthless and anti-consumer. For example, Nintendo is the only major gaming publisher that rarely lowers their games' prices. And on the rare instance they do, their price drops are marginal. Also, Nintendo has had a history of being cheap by not providing gamers with more convenient services, like them not offering refunds or replacements for defective Joy-Cons with Joy-Con drift, or not offering an online service that's on par with modern standards. On top of that, there's Nintendo's unfair lawsuit against Palworld, the limited release of Super Mario 3D All-Stars, limiting the access of their classic games only through the NSO, shutting down small creators' campaigns to sell etiquette-themed Joy-Cons for charity, and others. So instead of acting surprised by Nintendo's recent conduct, I think despite their friendly persona, we must also acknowledge their darker side. For decades, Nintendo has always been cold-blooded and arrogant, and the only reason why they are more overt with this behavior now is because with the success of the Switch and the anticipation for the Switch 2, Nintendo now has the leverage to do so. Now, before we talk about why Nintendo's prices are bad and how they set a dangerous precedent, we must first try to understand why Nintendo is charging so much for their games. It's no secret that over the past decade, game development has increasingly become more expensive. With the demand for more realistic and stunning graphics, open world, and more content, a lot of developers have inflated their budgets to fit those demands. However, for the longest time, Nintendo has avoided this pressure. Instead of adopting photorealism and huge expansive worlds, Nintendo stuck to the basics. They focused on great gameplay and providing great gaming experiences. But as technology grew and became more sophisticated, it was inevitable that Nintendo would eventually feel the pressure to greatly widen the scope of their games. And Mario Kart is the perfect example. See, if we look at every Mario Kart entry, they always built from their predecessor and evolved the franchise. But because they were unlimited hardware, their budgets weren't that expensive compared to other AAA games. Thus, because of their lower budgets, it was easier for Nintendo to gain massive profit from their big franchises like Mario Kart. But with the range of Nintendo's games getting bigger and bigger with every new entry, in order to keep on impressing their consumers, they had no choice but to change their conservative spending habits and spend more money. And this notion is clear with Mario Kart World. Like I previously stated, every new Mario Kart game has evolved the franchise to greater heights. And with MK World following MK8, the franchise had to take another enormous leap to satisfy consumers' expectations, which is difficult to pull off without a big budget. And since Mario Kart is Nintendo's best-selling franchise, Mario Kart World couldn't just be moderately impressive. It had to exceed expectations. So understandably, Nintendo had to dump a substantial amount of money to ensure its impressiveness, because the Switch 2's success is largely predicated on this game, which then leads us to the problem at hand. As a result of these pressures and expectations, I'm guessing MK World is one of the most, if not the most expensive game Nintendo has ever made. And because of this expensive investment, I can assume that Nintendo not only wants to profit from this investment, but profit a lot from it. And the easiest way to do this is by simply charging more. Oftentimes, when a corporation does something that sours gamers, the cliche, vote with your wallet, always gets thrown around. And although this tactic can work into making corporations move in ways that favors gamers, oftentimes this tactic fails miserably. Why? Because gamers are flaky. See, when companies violate gamers with malpractices like predatory microtransactions or selling unfinished and broken games, gamers have let them get away with a lot. Such an example is Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Upon the game's release, there were massive protests and vitriol thrown towards this game because to some fans, this game looked disappointing. And once again, the mantra "vote with your wallet" was widely expressed throughout this protest. But with all that noise, you'd expect the sales for this game to suffer. Well, you'd be wrong to guess that because not only did Scarlet and Violet sell well, they sold exceedingly well as they broke multiple sale records. Thus, with this example and plenty more from the past, if we're to follow history's patterns, we can expect the Switch 2 to sell well despite its controversies. And just like how microtransactions, selling broken games, and charging for early access all became common exploits for companies to take advantage of consumers, I believe that this new price hiking will become a new common exploit. And MK World is just the beginning. For instance, Zelda is one of Nintendo's franchises that has moved forward and expanded its scope with the open worlds of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. So it's possible for the new Zelda game to adopt a similar evolution to Mario Kart World. And as a result, this new Zelda game could also cost $80. And given how popular a new 3D Super Mario and new Pokemon game could be on the Switch 2, they could also receive the $80 treatment. So, the slogan "vote with your wallets" can work, but if a game is popular enough and if a corporation has enough leverage, it means nothing. Because once a company knows their product has a stranglehold on their consumer base, they could get away with anything. So what does this mean for the future of gaming? Well, it means we're screwed. See, this is the thing that companies have been waiting for. While gamers are tormented by this news, publishers are salivating and rejoicing at the fact that Nintendo could get away with something they've been trying to do for years. For as long as I can remember, the standard price for a new game was either $60 or lower until 2K started charging $70. So because companies were stuck to the standard, they used other ways like microtransactions, loot boxes, and DLC to squeeze more money from their consumers. Also, it's important to realize that due to the increasing budgets for game development, sales expectations have also increased and sometimes been unrealistic. Just look at Square Enix. For years, whenever a mainline Final Fantasy comes out, they always express their disappointment in their sales, even though Final Fantasy consistently sells millions of copies. Which just goes to show that despite selling millions of copies, gaming companies are still not satisfied with their profits. And currently, the expectations of gaming companies, more specifically in the AAA space, have unprecedentedly become bigger than ever before. So for a company like Square Enix to attain their expected profit margins, they might consider raising their prices like Nintendo. All this to say, this is the moment the gaming industry has been waiting for. And when GTA 6 releases, I bet now 2K are more at ease and confident to sell it at a premium price. And once they do, it's all over. After this, the most greedy companies like EA, Ubisoft, and Activision are gonna come out the woodwork and pounce at the opportunity to charge gamers ridiculous prices. I know usually in my videos, I try to offer a solution or perspective that could fix a problem I see regarding a certain topic. But unfortunately, if these arbitrary prices work for Nintendo, it's only a matter of time until other avaricious companies do the same. So I'm sorry, there is no good news or brighter side to this. Unfortunately, it's very likely that this kind of subjective pricing will be the new norm in gaming.